All right, so you're considering moving to my neck of the woods, to Dripping Springs, Texas. I mean, after all, Dripping Springs is known for a lot of things. We've got great schools out here. It's known as the gateway to the beautiful Texas Hill Country. Coming out of Austin, this is one of the best routes to take. It's known for things like Hamilton Pool, the Pedernales River, Pedernales Falls State Park, and it is, of course, known for all the breweries, wineries, and distilleries in this area. But if you're thinking about moving here, you need to know a little bit more. You want to know about the actual real estate involved. That's what this video is all about. I'm going to give you my 2024 predictions for the real estate in Dripping Springs ISD. Guys, quickly, I am Chris Pesek. I'm a real estate broker with Pesek Properties right here in Dripping Springs, Texas. Let's get to what I'm seeing coming forward in 2024. I'm going to start with basically my methodology, and methodology is hard, right? Because the data that I think important may not be what you think's important, and somebody might be getting mad at me for this. Oh, this isn't the way stats work. It kind of is, because they always say, there are damn statistics, right? You can take statistics and manipulate them, and I'm taking a simple look at what I think is going to happen this year, as of right now, and it's roughly the end of January, early February when I'm recording this. And the interest rate, I'll call it a par interest rate, is about 6.7%. Now, I've seen people getting a lot lower than that right now. I've seen people paying a lot higher than that right now, but I'm going to call the par interest rate 6.7 for my data knowledge. So what I did is I went back and I looked at the last 2 points in recent history being since the 90s. And I wanted to see what happened in the Dripping Springs market the last time interest rates were at around 6.7%. And so I came up with 2 points in time. One of them is roughly 2006. The other one was roughly 2002. It doesn't seem to be a lot of difference between those two dates in terms of the years. But what we're seeing in the market in those two times is vastly different. So I'm going to talk about 2002 first. And what I did for this is I went ahead and looked at 2001 to 2003. I took that 3-year window and took a look at what houses were selling for, average and median prices. And what I found during that 3-year window is that our average prices went up around 1 or 2% per year over that period. Median prices, however, went down about 2% for that year. So you had an increase in average, you had a decrease in median. And I was having a little bit of trouble deciphering that, but I'm going to come back to that point. But overall, 2002, roughly a 2% appreciation and roughly a 2% depreciation in median value. Average value was up 2%. Fast forward to 2006, using the same methodology, going back from 2005 to 2007. What I saw with that data is that the average per year appreciation was about 9%, way higher, even again at 6.7% interest. And the median appreciation during that same time was about 7.5%. So median is still lagging a little bit during that time period, but about 9% a year over that 05, 06, 07 timeframe. And I was having a hard time figuring out what this was and trying to extrapolate that into what's happening now. I was talking to a good friend of mine. We do a Monday show. He's a mortgage broker, Steve Babcock, with Motto Mortgage. And we were talking off air, and he goes, well, what was happening right before 2002? And I had to think back. And we had a large tech bubble in Austin that had started to break up in 98. We lost a lot of tech jobs. It was the dot-com burst and all of that stuff. And that affected us locally. There were a lot of jobs that went away. And in 2006, we didn't see that. And in fact, 2006 was leading up to the 07, 08 real estate bubble. But the interesting thing about the real estate bubble in Austin is that we really didn't see a whole lot of effect. It was a lot like we saw right here at the end of COVID, where it kind of plateaued, but it never really took a big dip in the area. So that's the difference between 02 and 06. Now, what do I think is more likely to happen now? Historically in Dripping Springs, we've seen 2 to 3% historic appreciation every year. We don't see a lot of downturns. In fact, there's really only a couple of them in the history of the real estate that I was able to look at. And so, normal appreciation out here is 2 to 3, maybe 4%, a little bit lower. Austin proper is like 3 to 5% each year. So 2 to 4%. So that '02 time frame was really kind of the historical norm, and that '06 was way above the historical norm. And when I look back at what was happening in '02, people had less money to spend on houses at that time. Again, we lost a lot of tech jobs. The average income in the area at that time was starting to drop down. And I think what we're seeing right now in 2024 is really similar to that '02 timeframe. And I'm going to put it in the lens of, think about what's happening with inflation and our economy right now. I mean, gas is $3 a pound. I don't buy milk, but everybody's telling me milk is expensive. Have gone up. Meat is astronomical. So the cost of living has gone up. And I think that's a lot of what we were seeing, not necessarily the cost of living going up in 2002, but people having less money for their housing. So they had to make a choice. And that's the reason you see that divergence, I think, between the average price point and the median price point. And I'll tell you right now in the Austin area, our median price point has sagged quite a bit, even though that average is still creeping up. And what's happening, what's causing that is people are choosing to buy lower priced houses. We've got people that are, kind of down at the bottom of our price range. And instead of, during COVID, people were buying $800,000-$900,000 houses all the time, but right now they can't afford it. They can't afford it because of interest rates, and they can't afford it because of house prices, and they can't afford it because of the price of everything else. So they're still buying houses, but they're just buying at the lower part of the inventory, right? And so that's why we see the same thing now. We see the median prices coming down, but the average prices continue to go up because we're still seeing appreciation overall. So all of that said, what do I see for 2024? If, and this is a huge if, and I've got to classify it like this, right? If we see rates stay stable, I think this is going to be a normal historical year for us. I think in Dripping Springs, we're going to see, call it 2 to 3% appreciation. The housing prices are going to go up. I fully believe that in Dripping Springs. Early in the year, we're already seeing a lot more buyer activity than we typically do in January and February. The lenders I talked to, again, Steve is one of those. They have a lot more people calling for approvals and things like that. So I think we've got a large group of buyers that are right on the sideline and just waiting to make sure that those interest rates don't jump up. And if they stay stable, I think we're going to see that normal year again. Call it maybe 3% appreciation here in Dripping Springs. What does that mean for you? Well, I mean, at a $500,000 price point, 3% appreciation, you're looking at a $15,000 increase in the cost of a home from beginning to the end of the year. Is that going to put anybody out of the market? No, it's not. But the earlier in the year, the more towards that 500,000 in this example you would be buying. If you're buying at the end of the year, I could see you, spending that additional 15,000. And in lower price points, especially here in Dripping Springs, it could be that, like I mentioned, more people are buying that lower price point. I think those lower price points could appreciate more, and those higher price points are going to stay a little bit stagnant. We're seeing, especially above $1 million here, those price points are holding pretty stagnant, and we're seeing price reductions still. So that's my prediction for 2024 in Dripping Springs, Texas. I think we're going to see, call it roughly 3% appreciation this year if we have a consistent interest rate. If the interest rates go up, same thing that happened the last 2 years is going to happen. Buyer interest is going to go down. And I think at this point, if we see interest rates go up this year, we could see some significant drops in value here. The issue is that no analysts are saying anything about interest rates going up this year. Everybody's saying either staying stable or dropping. And on the other side of that coin, if we see interest rates drop in Dripping Springs, or overall in Dripping Springs, I think we're going to see a higher appreciation. It could be approaching 5 or 6% this year. Again, $25,000 to $30,000 on that $500,000 house. And we could see that simply because people want to move here because of the schools and because of the hill country and everything like that. So if if they're incentivized, and I'll say incentivized, if they're incentivized to move here because of lower interest rates, I think we're going to see a faster appreciation. And again, it's definitely going to be noticeable at lower price points. Higher price points, I think it's going to take a pretty good reduction, maybe a 1% interest rate reduction at this point, to get that over $1 million, that luxury market back kick-started again here. But there you go. Overall, Dripping Springs, we are going to see price increases. I do not see anything dropping anytime soon unless we have a big interest rate hike. And you can take this for what it's worth. I'm a realtor and I look at data all the time, and I want to bring you the best data that I've got. So let me know in the comments. Is this, do you agree with me? Do you see a big drop coming? And if you've got questions beyond that, you're more than welcome to put them in the comments. I will definitely answer those for you. And if you think this information is valuable, whether you agree with it or not, if you think it's valuable, give me a like, subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of this kind of content on here, and because I think it's educational, I think that's important. But anyway, for right now, take a look at this next video that I did on Dripping Springs, and hope to talk to you soon.